Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us at the 2025 Lean Global Connection. For the next 30 minutes, David Marriott, Peter Watkins and I are discussing the Lean Practice Day. That's the day that we've organised with Toyota next April. This session builds on the one that we did yesterday on the main stage with Toyota's Simon Rowley. In a nutshell, we're going to spend the time today talking about Lean using some generic questions all of you can apply to your situation, discuss the process we've developed for the Lean Practice Day at Toyota and what you'll be able to see. LEA's got a simple purpose. We're not for profit, established to help customers become self-reliant on their Lean journey. At LEA, we have three core value streams. These are learning, teaching and coaching and sharing. In the learning value stream, we've done a number of pieces of research and experiments with the aim of self-reliance. Most notably, we have been using the Lean Transformation Framework to structure these, but we also turn research into teaching and coaching processes, and we've developed an online learning platform offering learning materials and processes a company can employ to develop self-reliance. So the LTF was developed in the early 2010s by John Shuck. The first time it was published, John called it a model in 2014, but we realized that it's actually a framework. That's a better term for what it really is. We started that research. LEA started research in 2014. We did that with the Halfway Toyota group across 8 sites. Over the last, the intervening 10 years, we developed a website which uses the LTF as a structure around our online learning platform, and we over that time have done used the LTF around 50 cases. And so we've published that research of what we found across the 50 cases, and that's provided a key input into the Lean Practice book that we will launch in 2026.
I suppose there's some common failure points in that book as well, isn't there? After we do those 50 cases, there was some, very common things amongst a lot of those companies.
Yeah, that's right, Pete. Yeah, I think one of the things is that quite often people have got a strategy and and say they've got a mission and a value-driven purpose, and some companies are then doing the normal stuff that you would expect within the the stuff that you expect with lean production. But by the time you get to the capability question, very, very few people have got a process for developing organizational and individual capabilities.
And that's connected to the management system that's not in place to get focused on that, isn't it?
Yeah, and currently what's happening is people are jumping to the management system without actually thinking about capability. So we've got all of this stuff around daily management without actually having the foundations of the capability development piece.
So well, the ownership by the leaders on it.
Yeah. So that's the framework and the timeline. So what is the LTF? Well, it's 5 dimensions for making change, effective change around lean thinking principles. And as you can see in the pinwheel, the first question is about value. And so here we ask, what problem are we trying to solve? The second question is about work. So how do we do and improve the actual work to provide value to the customer? In the third question, we talk about capability. So how do we develop the capabilities we need to do and improve the work to provide value to the customer? The fourth question is about the management system. So what management system and behaviors are required to develop those capabilities to do the work to provide the value? And then the fifth question is about the basic thinking, mindset and assumptions that drive any change that's being made, and that's really about the type of culture that you need to create in order to be able to be effective with these questions. Okay, so Dave, do you want to talk about some of the typical failure modes? Because that's really where all of this started. It all started with John saying there are a whole series of common failure modes. And so if you were going to do an FMEA and then you reverse engineer that FMEA, you'd end up with these individual questions.
Sort of 35 years of doing lean, I think this is the best way to even describe lean and how to apply, and how to apply it. I wish I had it 35 years ago. It would have been a lot easier to describe to leaders how to do it. So I think it helps with, understanding how to apply it as well.
Yeah, I think we've all been involved in various approaches with, tool-based approach, or, very people-focused approach. But actually what our reflection is, it's a balance of the two. And I think that's the elegance of the LTF, is that it achieves that balance. And it's not just one thing. You've got to consider all five in order to avoid these failure modes, which, is what inspired John to kind of come up with it. So if we take the 5 questions that Dave mentioned, so if we're not clear about what's our value-driven purpose and what problems are we trying to solve, then we're going to generate, confusion within the organisation. So that's why that dimension is so important to start with. Secondly, if we think about the work and how do we do the work and improve it, if we haven't thought about how that work has been designed, making sure that work is easy for people to do, then also we're going to create frustration in the organisation. Similarly, if we're not thinking about how do we develop people's capabilities in order to do and improve the work, to solve the problems, to deliver the value, then people are going to get very stressed and very anxious and create a lot of anxiety within the organisation. And then if we look at the management system and leadership behaviours, then if we're not aligned around the management systems and the behaviours, then we're going to get contradiction. And then finally, the culture piece, which Dave mentioned, really, if we're not addressing that basic thinking and mindset with the people in terms of how we're going to drive that change, then we're going to come up against resistance. So those are the kind of the common failure modes, and that's really what we've been trying to share amongst the lean community, because as Peter says, we think this is a better approach in terms of applying lean thinking and practice. So purpose really is of the LTF is a structure for self-reflection, to understand the gap between the current and the desired states of your change or efforts. So that's really critical in terms of understanding your situation. So it's not a list of things to do. It's 5 questions to think about. And the beauty of that approach is it avoids this kind of common hammer looking for a nail approach, which we see across many organizations, and also organizations which are struggling to implement lean. So it's really getting you to think about articulating what to do, why we should do it, and also more importantly how. So onto the Lean Practice Day with Toyota UK. So we took a period of self-reflection because we've been visiting Toyota UK since 2018 as part of our annual Lean Summit. And we tend to, see and also get feedback from people that have been there, is that they tend to experience sensory overload, as it can be quite overwhelming. And it's in quite a short space of time, relatively only a couple of hours. And in the past, we've done the plant tour with respect to the theme of the summit, which is fine, but actually the time there is not enough for people to really digest and reflect upon what they've seen. Yeah. And also there's no activity to put into context what they've seen, and delegates are generally just looking and not seeing. And at the end of it, there's no actionable output for people. So they come away with, having done a visit, but that's about it.
What are they going to do after that visit? Yeah, that's the key thing, isn't it? Yeah, taking that learning.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to try and challenge with the practice day, and also getting people to understand the LTF better in the context of what they see at Toyota UK and TPS. Because you see in the graphic on the right, a lot of people come away with, well, I don't make cars. They're just too good, obviously, because they've been doing it for 60 odd years. Where should I start? I don't know what to do. What should I do? And also, how can I do it? So the practice day is really, trying to address some of these challenges that we found with the standard kind of plant tours that we've done in the past. So what did we do and what did we propose for 2026? Well, we've kind of took some of our own medicine and said, well, we need to do an A3. So we actually took the time to sit back and think about what we're trying to achieve, and made an A3 and a proposal A3 to the Toyota Lean Management Centre and at Toyota UK. And really the kind of headline summary of the A3 that you see on the left there is that, one, for us, we wanted to understand and increase delegates' understanding of the LTF and get them to see probably what we tend to see when we go, which is how TPS and the Toyota Way is practically applied, but in the context of the 5 LTF questions. Obviously develop delegates' capability to apply the LTF to their situation, and hopefully then avoid some of the common failure modes that we just discussed. And as an aside for that, we had the intention to try and raise over £50,000 for their charitable trust. So all of the monies for the Lean Practice Day go directly to Toyota UK's charitable trust. So what's the outcome for 2026? Well, you can see on the Wednesday, the 29th of April, we have a summit day. So that's our standard day filled with high quality, lean content and organisation sharing their lean stories and journeys and experiences. But either side of that, so you've got a Lean Practice Day at Burniston, the vehicle assembly plant, and also at the D-side engine assembly plant. So you can either do the Lean Practice Day on the 28th, the Tuesday, or the Thursday, the 30th of April. So what we're trying to do is, in the past, we've had about 38 people go to TMUK. Actually, what we're trying to do is now increase that opportunity to 144 people. So a dramatic increase in trying to expose people to see TPS in the context of the 5 LTF questions.
Also, we made it cheaper, Dave, haven't we, for the summit day
yes,
now?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's cheaper
Hopefully we can
than
get some more SME companies come in and
that's
try
right.
to make it cheaper.
One of the key things is what people are doing here is the calibrating against the best lean example. You can go on tours to lots of places, but the reality is, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So you can be just a little bit better than somebody else, and then you can sound like you're an absolute expert. But what you're seeing in this practice day is you're making sense. You said it, Dave. You're seeing what we see when we go. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to uncover how to see and look like use that process to go and look at what you're doing. And I suspect that actually lots of people are doing tours of different places that have been doing lean for 5 minutes. And the reality is, yeah, they might make some initial early wins, but really, are you really addressing the right questions? Are they even telling you what the right sequence of things to do is? It's just,
and it's situational, isn't it, as well?
It's situational. Yeah. So
in the past as well, we've the tour, shall we say, has been a couple of hours, and it's only really focused on maybe one of the dimensions of the LTF that we've done in the past. This time, actually, we're going to do all 5, and we've asked Toyota to explicitly say, look, think about the 5 questions, and what do you do in with respect to TPS? How would you answer those if you were Toyota, or how does TPS do that? So it's a complete activity rather than just a systemic
description of what is going on in the operational bit of Toyota. That's really the idea. So unique opportunity
It is,
may never be available again. Who knows?
Yeah,
or it
right.
might be available again if it's really successful. We just don't know. So
yeah, I must admit, when we presented the A3, I was a bit skeptical whether they'd actually go for it, but yeah, we were overjoyed when they actually said, yeah, we should do that. That's a good thing to do. So looking forward to it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we have a little bit more of a deep dive on what is the Lean Practice Day and what's the learning process for it and what's the agenda for the day. So you're clear about what this is and what you can learn from it. So as Dave mentioned before, this isn't a tour, it's an activity. So you only really learn by doing. So we've tried to structure the whole thing around doing and learning, and not just touring and not seeing really. So how do we do that? Of course, Dave mentioned before that you really need to calibrate your thinking, and you want to be careful about who you calibrate your thinking on. So that's why we've partnered with Toyota to do this, because you're going to see the best. As Dave said, they've been at it a long time. So we're going to see how they answer the Lean Transformation Framework questions using the TPS approach for their unique situation, and what you can learn from that as well. So we're going to do that through a self-reflection process, and you're going to think about your situation around that. We're going to show you a diagnosis, so you can progress around the 5 questions and use that back at your own location, and hopefully develop the capability of your own leaders to do this. And more importantly then, what are the gaps you need to close about how you're applying lean thinking and practice to your unique situation. That's the whole point of it, is really be clear about those gaps and what you're going to work on next. And really the whole day's geared up to get your capability up. So we'll go into what is the learning process now to develop your capability. Okay, so we developed this learning processes based on PDCA, because that's a core lean principle. So the first bit, before you go even to the Lean Practice Day, we need you to really understand what the Lean Transformation Framework is about and the 5 questions. We quickly covered it before, but there's a bit more depth about that. So you're going to use our online learning platform that we've developed, and you're going to go through 2 skill levels. Skill level 1, which is the basic knowledge about the LTF, purpose, process, and people. And then you're going to progress on to skill level 2, where you get a deeper understanding of the questions and the thinking behind it. The thinking behind it is done in a generic way that you can understand it. So you're going to complete that before you go. So you've got a good understanding of the LTF questions before you turn up to the actual practice day where we're at Toyota. Most of the day there is on the go see bit. So we're going to have some Toyota leaders. They're going to show you, going to discuss each question, and then we're going to go see how they answer that practically, and you'll have a chance to discuss about what they do and how they do that, and how they practically apply that from the leaders and the team members. So once you've gone and calibrated yourself by that go see, then you're going to come back and you're going to diagnose yourself. So based on that learning and that understanding now and that calibration level, you're going to diagnose yourself, understand what your gaps are for your situation, and then we're going to discuss that, and hopefully going to form some sort of action plan about what you could do next to close those gaps. And while we're together, we'll discuss that and help each other out on that. So that's kind of the learning process. So to be able to do that, we need to diagnose ourselves properly. To do a diagnosis of self-reflection, which I don't know about you guys, but I think, we have a lot of people coming and telling people, they ask people around their operations or their companies, and they come and make a massive long list of all the things that are wrong, and just tell people that it's wrong. It's far more powerful to get leaders and team members to reflect about where they are rather than someone telling them.
Yeah. It's so important for the whole self-reliance piece.
Yeah.
It's got to be the people doing the work and improving the work to self-reflect on what they need to do.
Yeah, they've got to buy into it, haven't they? They've got to buy into them, but to do that, they need some structure. Yeah, if you've not done it before and you haven't got 35 years of experience, then you need a bit more structure to say what good looks like when you're applying lean thinking and practice. So what we've developed is a diagnostics here to try to promote that debate and discussion amongst leaders and team members about where you actually are on each of those questions. So for example, this one is on problem solving and about how you're applying that. where you are you starting, are you learning, are you implementing, are you driving, or are you excelling, like you'll see at Toyota? So hopefully, it's not about achieving a level or points or scores. It's all about discussion, debate about where we are and what our gaps are. Yeah, so if we're on level 1 starting, then what are we going to do about that? Yeah, what's the action we're going to take next to move us from starting to learning? Yeah, so we're going to have this debate and discussion during the day, and what you can practically do about that, and based on what you've seen at Toyota as well.
Each of the 5 questions, Pete, have got a diagnostic sheet. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Some
correct.
of them have got 2.
2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do the work and improve the work, for example.
Yeah. Or management system and behaviours.
Yeah.
There are 2 on that as well. But I think the point you made, Pete, about this isn't a tick box exercise. I've seen a lot of these assessments.
Yeah.
Rapid plant assessments, etc., and they just become, okay, right, I'm doing it, tick box, move on.
Yeah. No,
that's not the process here at all. The process here is very much, as we just said, it's about self-reflection, and then agreeing and then aligning on what the next set of activities are to actually close gaps.
Yeah, and it's not, it tends to be a race, doesn't it? People, are obsessed with achieving a certain level, and it's either in their objectives to do that. That's not the purpose of this. It's actually, honest self-reflection of where you are, but actually you've got to prioritize and decide what are you going to work on next based on your situation and the business challenges that you've got. Yeah. So, it's like I said, it's trying to get away from a point scoring activity. That's why we didn't put any numbers on this at all. Yeah. We just try to put it as generic kind of levels, but stimulate people to say, okay, think about what gaps you have, and then in the context of your business situation and your transformation, what you're going to do next, what's your priorities, because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
And it's your actions are going to be unique, aren't they? You're not going to copy Toyota. You can't copy Toyota. They've had 60 years of already doing it. Yeah. So your actions are going to be very different.
Yeah. And really what you're trying to do here is you're trying to get the work done and develop the people and do the improvement at the same time. Yeah. That's what you're trying to do. So
also, it's an iterative process, isn't it? That you need to self-reflect, continually. Yeah, we're not going to go from starting to excelling overnight, as Dave said. Yeah, so it's an iterative process. You need to, think about these gaps and how you're progressing. So just a little bit more on the agenda, what you're doing in the day. Okay, so we're allowing some time to travel there. So we're not starting till 9:30, but fairly early for some. And then we're going to get a presentation. We're going to start off with actually the last question, which is a result really of doing all of the first 4 questions, which is the mindset. So I've already created a culture and a certain mindset in our organization. They've been at it a while. So we're going to have a presentation about that. I think that's really going to be interesting. I can't wait to listen to that myself. And then we're going to have a debrief from what you learned from the online learning process to act on what you learned and what you understood. That's going to quickly do that, and then we're going to go straight out and go through the diagnostics first, and then go out on the shop floor, which is where we're going to spend most of the time. Out on the shop floor and the activities, seeing how Toyota applied TPS to answer the questions, as we say. Once we've been on the shop floor, then we're going to come back and do some self-reflection then, as we said, because that's the power of it all, really. And you're going to diagnose where you think you are as a team, as a company, as a function. And we're going to discuss and debate that. And then we're going to get you to start thinking about, what are the things you could do for your situation? What would your actions be? How could you close those gaps? Which is really what we want from this, some action, as Dave said.
I think just interested in discussion yesterday with Simon about the mindset. Because he said, specifically, we're not going to take you to a place and explain the mindset of Toyota and TPS and whatever the Toyota way, he said, but you will hopefully see that threaded all throughout the whole day through the people that you meet and the situations that you face. So I think it's quite good that they're starting with that to set people up to say, be looking out for these elements within the people and the culture all the way through the day. So that was a takeaway from me from that discussion.
It is, isn't it? Because culture is just what we do every day, isn't it? Yeah. the leaders set the culture because they allow people to do things or not. Yeah. So I think you need to see how leaders are and how they behave with people. You know, it's key, isn't it? Yeah, to creating that culture. So yeah, it makes me laugh when people say we want to change the culture. We get leaders come in saying we need to change our culture. Well, that's up to you to do that. Yeah. You know, you're the ones that allow that or not.
Just one other thing before we do the summary. You know, you might be in an organisation that's just starting, and that would be okay. You could just come as an individual and do this activity. But actually, we've had a lot of people, as we've put this on the web, saying, "Can I bring my team?" And yes, you can bring your team. You might get really good, high quality discussion, having everybody see together, and then go and do the some of the diagnostic activity.
That's why we insist, don't we? When we start with companies, we do an LTF day with them to do this and go through this process.
Massive alignment piece, isn't it? Alignment of everybody to understand what it is and what it isn't.
Okay, so in terms of the summary, we expect that delegates will get a much better understanding of the LTF questions and of the lean thinking way. You've then got this whole practical application of TPS at Toyota. You're going to be able to use the diagnostic for self-reflection and then take that back into your own organizations and think about that for your situation. And really what we're hoping is that we develop people's capability to apply the LTF to any situation, but also improve their capability to be able to make better sense of what they see when they see it. So, what do we see when we see an organization versus what do you see when you see an organization? And of course, at the same time, getting the work done and improving the situation at the same time, we're going to improve the situation by raising 50 grand for the Toyota Manufacturing UK Charitable Trust. You can attend the practice day on the 28th or the 30th of April, either side of the UK Lean Summit. The idea is to look at what Toyota does through the lens of the 5 questions of the LTF. How does the most successful lean organisation avoid the most frequent failure modes? And if we ask what Toyota does to define value-driven purpose and identify the key problems to solve, we can see what we do in our organisations to answer that same question. Then we can reflect to work out the gaps we need to close for our unique situation. You can sign up to the event on our website. We planned only 144 places, as Dave said, and they're selling fast. 25% of the tickets have already been sold. So we think this is a great opportunity, a unique opportunity, and something that I don't think has ever been done anywhere before. We'd love to see you there, and we look forward to it. Thank you very much. Do you want to put the thing up, Luke? Oh, there you go. Okay, so for Michelle, that's that was the image that we that we used.
Yeah, like we said in the commentary, wish we had this 30 odd years ago. It would have been great. It's the best way to get leaders aligned, isn't it? Yeah. Taking up and getting self-reflecting and team members. Yes.
I don't know whether anybody's got any more questions. We've answered the questions as we've gone through in the session. We have one more session later today, and we're going to basically go into those 5 questions in much more detail and talk through the teach poster and what we're trying to do with the book and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So we'll see you later.